The music.
I know. Here we are, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. All right, so welcome everyone. We'd like to welcome you back to another weekly Q&A on Wednesdays with Maggie and Lucy. We are the founders of the Finishing School for the Modern Woman. If you haven't heard, you can read a little bit about it at the bottom of the ticker. So we'll introduce ourselves, but tonight is your night. It's an Ask Us Anything Q&A. So we don't have any monologue or anything prepared. Of course, we've got some slides if needed, but you can go ahead and put those in the chat. Any questions that you have, I'm also going to put the link in the chat here. It is pinned to the top on YouTube. But a little bit about me. So you all may know me as Maggie, the substitute teacher. I've got a cooking channel on YouTube, plus a few other things I like to dabble in. I am a mom of two boys, two teenage boys, amicably divorced from their father. And I always say that, I got married young, loved being married, but I got caught up in some of that modern woman mindset and thinking that, we're equal and 50-50 and women can do everything men can do until I hit the wall. And so unfortunately, it ended in divorce, but we co-parent really well, and I've learned a lot since then. And since then have been in another long-term relationship. For work, I do work in corporate America. I work in IT. I'm a senior business analyst, so I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, an MBA in technology management. I have an IT certification and over 20 plus years experience, but we're really passionate about the older women teaching the young. So I'm going to let Lucy introduce herself and then we'll come to you all's questions.
Hello, all. Hi, Celine. Hi, Mona D. Thank you for coming in. So, this is funny how you present yourself because I think I told you that I went to a couple of interviews just to continue practicing my interviewing skills. And your presentation was pretty much how they want you to present yourself on an interview. So, and because you know me, I'm an introvert, it's very hard for me to talk about myself. So I get your guidance on how you do things to learn from you and how to do better every single time. So moving on, my name is Lucy, also known as Luke Casely. I have about 20 plus years in career in the corporate world. I have been an executive assistant. I have been an analyst. I have been part of an environmental side of a nonprofit. and the work stuff is all there. And the reason that Maggie and I got together was because I have a bachelor's in vocational education. And one of the key things in that in learning was to write up curriculum. And one time Maggie was, talking about, people were asking her, how do you share that information, as the older women in society, how do you get to share that info? And she said, well, I've been wanting to do it. And I said, well, Maggie, you know what? I can help you with the curriculum. And here we are. It started an amazing friendship and an amazing effort with a lot of work and a lot of love to hopefully put our little bit of a little drop of what we can do for society right now.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So, as you all are coming in, please go ahead and type your questions in the chat. We will answer them as best we can. Lucy and I are both older women in the community who are very passionate about leaving a legacy, and this is our life's work. So, if you are not familiar with the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, it is an online finishing school that we have kicked off. We're actually going into session number 3 with our students this weekend. So excited. So, the finishing school is basically, as you can see here, Lucy and I are the teachers, and as 47 and 57-year-old women, we are here for ladies of all ages. So this is private coaching that we do. We meet once a week for our 8-week sessions, and we're just getting started. So enrollment is closed for this current session for the entire package, but we got a lot of good stuff coming, and we're going to start a new session in the new year, January of 2024. So we will have some paid private coaching sessions, but we also want to give back to the community, and we want to make sure that we continue to offer value and be accessible to you all, at least once a week. So you'll see us here. And then we also have something very exciting coming in November. I see everybody coming in. Thank you all so much for being here and liking and sharing. I'll just speak to what Lucy said as far as introductions. And we talked about this a little bit in our last session with our students, but having a conversation is kind of becoming a lost art. We've heard that from some of the gentlemen when we talked about what would you like for us to focus on in the finishing school. And one of our sponsors said, communication, it's really hard to just talk to people now. And unfortunately, we're all here for technology. We're using technology to, connect with you all tonight. But a simple introduction goes a long way. I learned that I had to hire a stylist, y'all, because that's not a strength of mine. And I remember she told me, when you step out of the house, someone is always seeing you for the first time. And so I take that not only as far as, physical image, but here on the interwebs, we never know how the algorithm is pushing out our content. And we know we've got a community, and you all come back week after week, and we appreciate that. But I always am mindful that someone is seeing us and hearing about us for the first time. And like Lucy said, we have been, quietly working on the finishing school curriculum all summer. And then we announced it in August and started in September. And one of our students, I remember she said, I just happened to be asking my husband, wouldn't it be great if we had a community of women that we could kind of connect with? And like the day of or the day before, she heard about the finishing school and enrolled. So just giving that to you all as a piece of unsolicited advice. This is something that you can practice. We talked about some specifics, how to remind yourself of someone's name if you're bad with names, but a simple hello, eye contact, and just kind of saying who you are in a nutshell. Have that prepared so you're not flat on your feet. And the more you do it, the easier it will become. All right, we got Rodney coming through with the questions. Thank you again. So I'll read the question and then I'll take a stab at answering it, and then we'll let Lucy do the same. So you all pepper us with questions. Tonight is your night. And Rodney says, what skills do wives need when becoming part of a blended family? Ooh, this is a good one. I'm going to answer the question, but I have a lot to say about this. And so, just so you know, everyone's clear, a blended family is the way that I'm going to answer is where the woman is coming into the relationship with children, the man is coming into the relationship with children. When I think blended, I'm thinking there's, his, hers, and there may be ours. Maybe they create children together, or maybe they don't. Marriages are different, and not all marriages need to have or want to have children. Whew. I'm remembering the question we were asked last week about what are some of the most important qualities of a wife, and I answered as being agreeable. I would say that applies here too, as well as patience. And this one hits home for me because, I am a mom of two boys, and the blended family may be idealized, but we always like to keep it real with you all. It's a lot of work. It's very hard to raise your own children, but then to try and take on the monumental task of being a part of someone else's children, it's incredibly hard and it takes a special person. And, I'd be lying if I said, part of the reason why I'm not remarried is my guy flat out told me, he doesn't necessarily believe in the blended family and there are children on both sides. And so he wanted to keep it separate. Now, having teenagers, there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel for me one day, but this is why it's incredibly important, ladies, to be very selective and protective. So I would say agreeableness and patience. And, especially, we single mothers get a bad rap, especially if your children are not from marriage. And we don't put anybody down here, but it's just the truth, ladies. As a woman, if you have been judge, jury, and executioner, and you've never had to work with a man, you've never had to submit to a man, you've never had to listen to a man, and what you say goes in raising the children, you can only imagine when a man comes into that role and he's establishing how he wants his household to run, and everything you say is a challenge to him. That's not sustainable. Even now, as a divorcee, when their dad comes over, we have a family meeting. How are the kids behaving? And if he corrects them, I just say it. You heard your father. So just be mindful of that. Long-winded answer, but this one is close to home for me. So, Lucy, what would you say?
I'm glad that you answered that question because, again, I wouldn't know anything about a blended family because I haven't been part of that environment. But what I can do is maybe put myself in a situation where if I were to come in a situation where there was an, an option to have a blended family, how would I look at this situation? And I would say maybe coming in with a soft heart, coming in with the heart of receiving love from new children that you're going to be taking in or taking on the responsibility, receiving love also, hopefully from the the mother of those children, because again, you're coming into a new environment that you've never been part of, and having a listening heart as well. Listen to from where they come from, listen to the issues they come with, and just again, like Maggie said, be patient. Patience is probably one of the things that makes us feminine too. Just sit back and watch and observe and listen to the issues that the new children and your husband comes in when it comes to deal handling that part of his life, because again, that part of his life is going to be with you coming into that environment until they're 18, 19, and maybe later, because my parents tell me that even now, I'm 57, they tell me you are still my child and we will always care and be concerned about you. So I'm thinking that would be one of the easiest ways to come in without your walls up and without your defenses up. Just come in with a receiving heart and with a loving heart.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lucy. We have another question from Rodney. All right, Rodney. He says, how do wives handle disciplinary issues with their spouse's children in a blended family? I'm going to say, and then I'm going to go silence my phone. I'm going to answer this by saying they don't. Um, I would say that if you marry a man that has children already, he has established how he runs his household. And in the traditional roles that we support here, we women are more of a support system. And then I would also argue that this is something, I think everything should be talked about before marriage, but this one especially, you need to know what your role is. Lucy and I have a connection in the Kevin Samuel space, and a lot of times women, especially younger women, we just look at the wedding day. Being a wife is an actual role, and marriages are different. So there's different types of wives and different types of husbands. So you need to know what your husband is expecting. He may say, you know what? You are my wife. Their mother is fully present. We have a routine and a system that works. So you are just, here to be a support. If there's any issues, you escalate to me. That's kind of the system, that we have. My ex-husband is remarried. So the boys have a stepmother and she's wonderful to them. And if I'm being really honest, I had to check my ego about that. But the children come first, and she will call their dad, just like I will call their dad and let dad handle it. So I don't think as a woman coming into a situation like that, you assert yourself. First of all, it's very masculine. So you let the man lead, especially when it comes to his children. Lucy, how would you answer that?
And it's also part of the communication. As Maggie said, you would hope that you've talked about that issue before making it official. I would also think that because we forget a lot, I think for me, I like every things in writing, and I always write notes just to remind myself of those agreements that I made. I think that once you become a married relationship, you already become husband and wife, there is that agreement that it's for better or for worse, for rich or for poor, till death do us part. And part of that agreement is that if you've committed to a relationship where there's other children in the relationship, you will take a step back and allow the dad to handle that environment. You really don't have much to say because that's something between the dad, the kid's mother, and the children. Now, once the kid's mother is away and the children come to the house, I think you can establish certain parameters on how to behave and within the house, within that environment. But all the disciplinary issues are mainly taken care of by the dad. That's how I would see it. That's how I would handle it. And that's how it would make my life so easy to allow the dad to take ownership of that. Would I love those children? Of course. But ultimately, when it's discipline issues, the dad will take care of it.
100%. Thank you so much for the question, Rodney. So, again, if you all have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat. No agenda here, we'll bring them up. You can also click on the link if you're interested. You can be camera on or camera off. But hopefully, you all are realizing that it's nothing to take lightly. First of all, marriage is serious. You know, it can be beautiful, but it's a serious commitment. We don't take that lightly. And then when there are children involved, I'll just say I had to learn this too. The children come first, even though we're so excited that we're in this relationship. When you think about the lifespan, you're only a kid for a little bit of time, so you have to allow the man to prioritize his family. Then you will have your time. We have Nakota. Nakota has I says, I am on baby number 2. Oldest is 4 years old. My husband constantly says he is not heard or respected because of the way my 4-year-old acts out. What do I do? All right, so let me make sure I understand this. I'm going to reread. So you're married, and I believe these are your husband's children, or did you have these children before you got married? So if you could clarify how long you've been married. Um, I'm going to assume this is your nuclear family, so mom, dad, and 2 little ones. And your husband says he's not heard and respected because of the 4-year-old. Besides being a little confusing here, to me it seems a little out of balance unless this 4-year-old was here before the husband. So if you could, okay, so Dakota says these are our children. You've been married 7 years. Okay. Um, with respect, your husband needs to get his kid in line. There is absolutely no reason why a 4-year-old would have any say at all over what a man does in his own house. So when I look at this, my husband constantly says he's not heard or respected. But I will give you, some tangible things that you can do. As the mom, I would make sure that you always show respect to your husband because the children are always watching. Even though we are divorced, I submit to my ex-husband as my children's father. If my kid wants to go somewhere and I was going to take him out with his friends and his dad says, no, he had an attitude this weekend, we don't go. And we're not married anymore. But I always show respect so the kids know you're not playing any games here. And it's really important that you nip this in the bud. So I would, talk to your husband. I'm struggling a little bit because, as a traditional woman, and I always admit to you guys, I got out in front and it cost me. And so I'm very careful about trying to steer the ship when it comes to any man. But you've got a kid that's not behaving. So, as a woman, I would probably, one, I would make sure my behavior was in line. And then two, I would talk to my husband and say, what else can I do? Now, if this is something that the child needs some help, then you all would need to get that help by all means. But if this is just a kid being, you know, bratty or tantrum or whatever, there is a way to let them know this is unacceptable. And then what your husband says needs to be what goes. And then if you have a question about that, you deal with him in private, never in front of the children. What would you say, Lucy?
I would say that, as you said, you both have to be in line with whatever behavior you show. If the 4-year-old sees that by throwing a tantrum, he's going to get things either from you or him, he's going to continue throwing tantrums and he's going to be a little brat until he gets his way. So I think that it might be that he's watching both of you do things and he's catching on to the behavior that will best fit him when he throws those, when he acts out. So again, it's important for you both as a husband and wife to take a look at your behavior while they're around, because you think that they're not watching, but they are watching you. They're not listening to what you're saying, they are watching you what you do. So if what you say and what you do doesn't match, they'll catch on to it and they'll start picking up the behavior that best benefits them. But again, I don't have any children. I know a little bit because I'm the oldest one of five, and I remember when my mom used to travel, I used to watch the four kids, and I used to be the mother of my sisters and my brother. So I have an idea on how kids can manipulate situations. So that's where you and your husband need to get together, talk about it, and also understand, what does it mean? What is it when he acts out? Is it because, I mean, he's a boy, he's rambunctious, boys are rambunctious? Does he need to go out there and run 3 laps and exhaust himself before he can get guidance a little better? So those are things that you need to talk about, because as Maggie said, if you don't nip it in the bud while he's young, it's going to be a problem once they become teenagers.
I couldn't agree more. And Lucy, I would say you most definitely have a place to speak here. I mean, you all, and Rodney, I'm coming to your question, but yes, we speak from our life experience here, and I'd love to know what you all think in the chat. But um, how do I say this tactfully? By all means, we all know and can observe when things are out of order. So, Nakota, thank you for the question. And the good news is you still got time, so you can correct this. The two of you can correct this. Nakota sends $2. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I will put you in the ticker as the stream sponsor. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. She's a girl. Oh, I can't wait for the children class. Oh, you're
Oh,
talking about the finishing school for the young lady.
yes. And we little girls can be so manipulative with the dad, because we know that we are our dad's little girl, and we can work things in a way that we can look like angels while getting our way. So yeah, you've got your hands full.
You definitely do. And this is the one where I'm going to need some help on because you all, I'm planes, trains, and automobiles over here. The finishing school for modern women. We have said, excuse me, women of all ages. Right now, we're doing, I'd say, 15 to 50. We do have a teenager in our school, and we have a 50-year-old in our school. But we have definitely considered, you're not the first to ask us if we would do a finishing school for young ladies. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you, Nakota. We have another question from Rodney. He says, how much discussion should be held on the meaning and significance of the marriage vows, traditional or otherwise? I'm thinking about this. So I've been married once, and we did a traditional church wedding, to have and to hold, for richer, for poor, for better, for worse, all of that. I know some people like to write their vows. Some people like to omit certain things in their vows. I mean, when you look at marriage and how it's been for hundreds and probably thousands of years, and I'm not a historian, but I believe this was, you know, a public commitment union of two people, man and woman, husband and wife, their families, and the community, right? Whether it was just a few witnesses or a large gathering, to basically say we promise to be, you know, in this role for this person, till death do us part. And I'm traditional, so I love the way that it's been, but I understand. I mean, I guess to answer your question, how much discussion should be held? Really, this is something that the couple that's getting married should talk about. And if both of you agree on the traditional vows, then that's what you recite. If someone wants to write their own vows, then I guess you talk about that and see if it's just we want to have more up to date language, or do we want to add things or take things away. But I just think it's a conversation. I don't think it should be contentious, but I think you should address it if need be. What do you say, Lucy?
I think it's a conversation, and I think that once you start talking about being serious with somebody else, you can tell pretty much towards the beginning whether that person understands what commitment is and what isn't. Because again, I think a lot of people have lost the understanding of what it is to be committed to something. When you say yes, it's yes and nothing else. Your word used to mean a lot. When you would say that you were loyal to a certain thing or a certain person, you were loyal to the end. Whereas unfortunately with the modern world, things are so quick. You know, people tend to change their minds quickly and they don't appreciate the meaning of what a full commitment is. And again, when you're going out and dating, you start hearing some words and you start watching some behavior that tells you that whether she is a committed person or not. And that's where you have to start looking for those red flags.
Thank you so much, Lucy. And speaking of what's worked, we have next level coming in from your channel saying, does state-sponsored marriage still have benefits for men considering the present state of modern women? So I'm going to answer this one. And this one, it just breaks my heart, but we have to be true and honest about what we have devolved into. I want to say yes if you choose wisely, and I'll explain why. Um, we all have to be very selective, but I have learned, and as a boy mom, I am well aware. We talked a little bit about this in one Q&A where men can have their lives completely destroyed by a woman or former wife who is not, what did Kevin used to say, coming into it with good intent or good intentions. So traditionally, another history lesson that I've learned, because I've had this conversation many times with my guy, and the difference between men and women, right? We are, as young girls, I'll speak for myself, we are raised and we are groomed. We have thought about marriage or weddings, since we were little. And so it's something that is so important to a lot of us. Okay, not all. Men are very different. And I had to learn this. It's like a man is on his purpose and he gets to a point in life where he's like, I've done as much as I can on my own for the next phase of life, whether it is, for relationship or family or business or whatever. I want to take a wife. I'm able to take on that responsibility. So just like we talked about previously with Rodney, with the vows, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate the compliment. Um, Before the state, if you will, got involved, marriages, hundreds and thousands of years ago, was that public ceremony of two families coming together, having that commitment and witnessing that pair bond for life. Fast forward now, and for reasons that we could debate until the end of time, it is. We even use the terms, state-sponsored marriage. So, long-winded version, I would say this, and I know, some men are opting out, some men are going other places, and I say you have to do what's best for you. We women, unfortunately, because the example and what is celebrated in pop culture is so detrimental to traditional relationships and men, all of us women have been lumped into this don't get married. You're stupid if you want to get married. Why would anyone get married? And it really breaks my heart because there are some good girls. We are working very hard to promote that here, but we have a long way to go because it's been so bad for so long. And I just try to be the example, even as I shared with you all. Even as a divorcee, I show a lot of respect to my ex-husband, and still, a marriage can end, but it doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be vicious. We have children together. And so um, I want to say yes, marriage can be beneficial to men to have a woman of your own, to love and support you for your goals, to have a family that you can raise under your own roof, and I'll say it, to leave that legacy. But I understand why men are hesitant. And so there are things that can be put in place as protection. But like Kevin used to say, relationships do have a risk. And I hate that we even have to ask that question. But Lucy, what would you say?
I feel a little strange answering this question because I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to the state sponsored marriage concept. I can tell you that unfortunately in this country, money has become something that everybody wants to get a hold of. And if you know, I don't want to get too into the political side or whatever, but if they can get it can if they can find a way to take on more of your money, they will find it. And I think marriage in this case is one of those. It's beneficial for them to for you to get married first because you feed the wedding and you feed the happy part, and then it's beneficial for the state as well to get divorced because then you're feeding the divorce attorneys, the judges, and every child support system, all of that. So again, I don't know too much about state sponsored marriage. I just know that society right now is kind of in a chaotic state because there's that. There's no consequences for the woman for when she gets divorced. In fact, there's a reward for women when she gets divorced because they're always thinking, oh, she's the mother of the children. She's going to need financial help. Let's look at the ex husband for one case and anything else that we can grab on to be able to support her and at the same time supporting everybody else that knows that there's money coming from there. So it's really strange, and again, for me, it's a really uh, strange thing because I think I've told you before my first marriage ended after 11 years, and um, there was no court involved. He said, "I'm going to help you here." I said, "Yes." He paid for, I think it was my little Honda Civic, and for me moving to Sacramento, and that was it. I was happy. It was dissolved. And for me, that's how I think it should get done. If you want to divorce, you should have no part on the previous marriage. Now, unfortunately, when there's children involved, there's something different. Thank God for me, there weren't any children involved. And I just, I'm practical. Um, I don't think of myself ever divorcing my husband here, but I think that if that ever happened, I would do the same. I would want no part. If I've come to the conclusion that this relationship is not going to work, why would I want to have any kind of linkage to that relationship when I've decided that it's done? We're done. And I got to tell you, men are really generous. When you're good to them, even when you're divorcing them, they're going to be good to you because they are willing to help you out. They're willing to see you, um, they're, to say goodbye to you in a good state. The way things get really bad is contentious is when he sees his money that he's worked so much on being fleeced by everybody else. So again, I feel I'm very passionate when it comes to that thing because I wouldn't do that. I don't see myself doing that, and that comes with you as a man knowing what kind of wife you will be taking on if you take that responsibility. And you can tell, you can test them, you can test your future wife on giving them tasks and see if they commit to those tasks and see if they change their minds a lot. That's a red flag. If she says something that she's going to do something, how often does she change her mind on that thing that she says she was going to do? So again, you know, I'm a little passionate about that. Not sure about state funding, but I have my thoughts about that. Sorry, it was long-winded.
No, no problem at all. And just two things, and then we'll move on. So, Lucy and I both have, unfortunately, but we both have experience in divorce and showing that you can exit with grace, and it does not have to be ugly. So, state sponsored marriage, as I understand it and as I explained it, is basically a legal marriage where not only are you committed to each other, but it is recorded and part of the legal system. There are schools of thoughts that say, why do we have to get the government involved and all? Can we just have a ceremony and not even, turn in the marriage license? So thank you for the question. Okay, yes, next level says coming in bad faith. I know, you guys remember that's what Kevin used to say. We try to come at things with good faith. So Rodney again says, so it sounds like commitment is different things to different people. How do we discern someone's level of commitment when it comes to marriage? Is time the key ingredient? So there's a couple things here. I would agree partially as far as commitment. One of the mistakes that I think we make is we just start doing the relationship thing. It's fun, you're falling in love, we like spending time together, and we haven't had that conversation as far as what we want marriage to look like, what we want life to look like, what are the roles. I think as a man should lead when he's ready to take it to that next level. He needs to be ready to say, this is who I am. This is the life that I've created for myself. This is what I'm willing to provide. And I'm looking for a woman to do this, this, and this. It could be to be a wife and have children, to be, on my arm at functions, to be a stepmother to my children. It could be different. So you're looking for a woman who is committed to your vision, which means you have to have that vision first. That's why Kevin Samuels, God rest his soul, used to say a man does need to take those years to really, heads down, eat you know what, and be able to 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 command that kind of respect. And then you offer that, and the woman will either agree to get on your program or not. Again, that's me coming from a traditional point of view. I know there's different types of marriages, 50-50 partners, and all of that. The question that you asked as far as how do you discern someone's level of commitment when it comes to marriage, I love what Lucy said about testing. I would also add this, and this is a big one for me. The family of origin, it matters. I am so sorry. It absolutely matters. We've heard of divorces where the mother of the divorcing wife had like three husbands or something like that. Look, it's not judging people, but it is being aware that that is the example that they saw and that is their level of what's normal to them. So, is it the end of the world? No. But if you have chosen a woman that did not have a stable upbringing and she saw all kinds of coming and going, number one, does she know that that's not, excuse me, in line with the level of commitment that you want? Sometimes people look at marriage as I'm just marrying you for right now, or it's just kind of like we're exclusively dating. But, my parents have been together over 50 years. Even my ex-husband's parents were together over 50 years until Mimi passed. And when you see couples that have been together for a long time, there's the ups, there's the downs. Sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're happy together, sometimes we're not speaking. Like life happens in that way. And if you choose a woman who has either not experienced that or seen it, the learning curve is going to be so steep for her. And then you're going to have to decide, do you want to take that on? What I would offer if there's a young woman, and I tell my consults this, like if you did not have that stable upbringing, you are going to have to seek it out. Shout out to the finishing school, but you're going to have to find ways to pick up where you are lacking. So I know a little bit of a long-winded answer, but yes, you can, definitely learn a lot by what was the example for her. And the last part about is time the key ingredient? Yes and no. I think people are who they are. I think they can change if they want to. So it's not anything you're going to force. It's not anything you're going to, coerce or nag her into. You have to evaluate who she is and where she is And then is she willingly seeking out, you know what, this is an issue for me. I got a temper, right? I'm working on it and these are the things that I'm doing. Or is it something that you're not going to want to have to pull it out of her? So time can help, but I think it has to come from the person. That's my answer. Lucy, what would you say?
I think you do you have your mute button on? Oh, okay, sorry.
I did. I muted myself. I meant to bring up the comment. How would you answer the question?
Um, Ditto on what you said. I think that knowing the background, her background, where she comes from. Does she have a mom and dad at the home? Does she only have a mom? And how often has the mom? What does the mom think about marriage? Think about marriage, and does it match? You know, what she thinks about marriage. Um, so yeah, all of the items that Maggie pointed out are very crucial. In time, I mean, it all depends. Time for me could be 1 year, time for you could be 2 years. So you're the one that's going to be able to be willing to say, how much time am I going to give this person to show me who she is? We just saw a very famous couple who, she was very talkative, loudmouth, kind of very expressive. She loved attention, but somehow all of a sudden she became agreeable and she became, everything that she thought the husband wanted. And we find out that she had a temper and he checked her temper quite a few times. And then he said, you know what? This is not for us. So one can only hide who they truly are for as long. And then things start coming out. And that's where you have to keep an eye on those red flags. And you have to say, am I willing to put up with that or not? And that is up to you to say, no, I will not take on somebody that has a disagreeable uh, uh, personality or anger issues. So that's where it's up to you to say, I will stay with this woman. I will take her on no matter what. Or, you know what? That is something that I can't handle. And then you cut your losses and you move on.
I agree. I agree. Thank you, Lucy. We got Yaz here. Hello, Yaz. Yaz says, can you make a video on mothering skills you gained over the years, like dressing your kids to be presentable to the world, hygiene, teaching them manners, etiquette when at someone else's house? I can definitely try, would be happy to, but I'm going to be very honest with y'all. I struggle just like y'all, these kids. I mean, I do love being a mother, but if you've ever caught one of my cooking live streams, sometimes I have to say, one moment, please, and go have a conversation. But yeah, absolutely. Yes, inbox me so I don't forget. I'm Maggie, the substitute teacher on Instagram, Facebook, or Maggie the substitute teacher at gmail.com. But I think Lucy and I can put something together because even if you're not a parent, you have seen it done well and you have seen it not done well. Looks like I'm just gonna hop down here. We have Mrs. Crotty Shetty. We have a new sponsor. Thank you, Nakota. But we have $10 from Mrs. Crotty Shetty. I'm going to update you in the ticker. She says, thanks for this information, beautiful ladies. You are most welcome. All right, and next level is confirming the state-sponsored marriage is with a marriage license. I understand. All right, so Dakota comes back and says, I think that's where my problem stems from. I was the breadwinner for years. My daughter saw mommy work hard and dad stay at home. Yeah, that's tough. And I understand, ladies. Look, I did it too. I put myself in a breadwinner position, and I was listening to another content creator. And we women, Kevin Samuels always used to say we were lied to, but we were in this whole we're equal, we can do everything a man can do. If there's one red thread for me and what I want younger ladies to understand, we are equally valued. but we are very different, especially as we age. And now at 47, I remember the 20 and 25-year-old headstrong, I'm going to change the world, Maggie. And we naturally slow down. I think it's a beautiful thing to age gracefully, but especially as you have children, like things change. Even if you don't have children, we are not built to carry that burden until 65 full time with all the things that come with being the breadwinner. So I appreciate what you're sharing, Nakota, that your daughter saw mom being the head of household and dad stay at home. And again, I will always say there's different types of marriages, but every decision has consequences. So I guess for now, I don't know if you're still the breadwinner and dad is at home. That's a tough one. As far as you'll have to kind of really make sure that your daughter sees not only dad, but all men as someone who should be, respected, um, and, brings value. And again, it's going to come to you, Nakota, even if you or any of us ladies who, we have these big jobs, it doesn't translate in relationship. I tell y'all all the time, I just came home and I was like, yeah, we need to do this. And then my ex husband was like, I don't work for you. And I had no idea, but it just kind of comes on us. So you're going to have to really make sure that you show up as the type of wife that would allow your daughter to respect her father. That's a tough one, though. Lucy, what would you say?
That is a tough one. I'm wondering if your husband now is working and now the you are both working parents. I'm not sure what the situation is. I would say that I would start by at night or at lunch when we're together, asking her to, while you're cooking, to serve the dad his plate, to go to the table and put the plate down for him. Hi, daddy, here's dinner. He's the first one who eats at the table. I think that he's looking for work. I'm at home with baby. Okay, so that's, yeah, if he's looking for work, then he's doing his part, trying to get financially stable for the home. So I think that again, just little things. If you have disagreements, do not have them in front of the children. Go somewhere else and talk about things that you disagree on, because again, she's watching and she's listening. So anything that does not speak well towards your husband, keep it behind closed doors, not allow her to see that stuff, because all she needs to see is how good of a wife you are with your husband, I think.
I love that. And Dakota says perfect. Yes, I love that tip about serving daddy. Oh, I could just see a big smile on her face when she just, yes, little girls and their father, by all means. Rodney with another question. Thank you, Dakota. Rodney says, does your finishing school have classes on financial literacy and or budgeting? Is that a part of the journey of femininity? Interesting question. So for now, no, but thank you for the feedback. I will say this, is that a part of the journey of femininity? I would say no. I think that's part of the journey of adulthood. And what I've learned and what's important, ladies, even if you are not in a relationship, once you are an adult, or part of being an adult is that you do need to be able to take care of yourself. That's what my guy says. For men, you need to be able to take care of yourself before you take on the responsibility of a wife and family. That's why men, because they take a little bit longer, need those years to focus on that. As a woman, even as a feminine woman, I mean, I still work, I have a mortgage, I have responsibility. Um, However, the budgeting and the financial literacy, I think, is great for all of us. But when you're in relationship, especially if it's a traditional relationship, usually if the man is the provider, maybe he's handling that part of it. I do know relationships too where the man brings home the bacon and the wife is better with the details and just like physically getting the bills paid and making sure everything is done. So you'll have to work that out, but you would not be able to do that with a woman who couldn't pay her own bills. So I think it's very important as a man that, like Lucy said, that's part of the test, or that's part of the what you look for. She needs to be fully functioning and on her own, at least at that level. Even if she's younger, is she responsible with her paycheck? Does she put a little bit of aside? Does she save up for bigger ticket items? Or is she impulsive? Is she wasteful? Does she not know where any of the money went? So it doesn't make her more masculine. It just makes her more responsible. And then, you all will decide who's going to be handling the money. What would you say, Lucy?
And that also comes when you're first getting to know each other, finding out what her spending habits are. Or every time that you go to dinner, does she want you to take her to a five-star restaurant or for steak and lobster? What does she wear? Is she top to bottom with what is the designer kind of labels? I mean, you can tell that. How does she always have to have manicures, like 125 manicure, pedicure, hair? So you start seeing that again, you have to have that observational skills. Again, it takes time to hone on them, but you start seeing whether that person is frugal or not. Ask about student loans or college. How much does she owe? I mean, you got to think that money, if you're thinking about marrying that person, that money is probably going to be part of your communal finances. How responsible is she with her financial schooling and her, what is it, student debt? I mean, those are things that are just things that, again, are part of the communication while you're getting to know each other. And you're going to get to see also, is she calling you to borrow 500 here because her car broke down? Or, is she seeing you as her own little bank account? So those are things that you start seeing them from the beginning, whether she's financially responsible or not. It would be good to check the bank statements. I wouldn't get to that point until I think that that's a person that is somebody that I'm going to be spending more time with. I'm going to be investing on. How does she feel about showing you her bank statements? Is she very defensive? No, you're not going to take a look at it. Or, yeah, no, look, I have $200 left. I'm waiting for my next paycheck for the next time. And then that's how you start seeing how she manages her finances. That's very important, actually. That's a really good question. If I were a man, I would watch, her spending habits. Is she going out every weekend with her friends? Who's paying for those going? It's expensive to go out. Really, it's very expensive. And if she's a single woman, where is that money coming from? Is she saving any at all for anything else? Is she traveling? Traveling is expensive. Who is paying for that travel? Is she putting it on her credit card, or are other people? Does she really believe in commitment where she has other friends paying for her travel expenses? So those are things that you just need to look out for.
I love that. I'll give you guys a little bit of story time while we're waiting on some more questions. If you guys are winding down, then we can give you a few updates on the finishing school and let you all have your evening. Again, we are here every Wednesday to give you guys your weekly Q&A. So, like I said, in my marriage, I did, kind of put myself out in front. That's just how we are brought up. This new generation of women, we are just led into march into line to be another productive member of society, whatever it wreaks havoc, on your stress levels. That's just how we are told that we add value. So don't beat yourself up if you have that internal struggle, like I did. But that's just how, that's just what we did. So after the divorce, And I've been in a relationship since then, with someone who is kind of a 1% kind of man. So he's very much a provider. But, just like we talked about, sometimes single mothers can be very headstrong because nobody's ever had to tell them anything. Those of us with our big jobs can think nobody's going to tell us anything. Well, I remember one day, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but I'll share with you guys. He said, I want you to put a budget together and I want you to show it to me so I can see everything that's coming in and coming out. And I was like, ooh, okay. And I have to say, I'm pretty responsible. I had everything kind of like on auto draft, for all the bills. And it was just like, I do well and I just try and make sure everything's taken care of. But I got an Excel spreadsheet and I literally like sat down and put everything that was coming in and broke down everything that was going out. And it was kind of humbling because you know y'all know how we get about our money. That's my money, and I'm not married, but my man said, I want you to do this. So I got the Excel spreadsheet, filled it all out, and he said, I want to know the number. How much do you cost? That's what he said. I was like, how much? What am I like? How much do you cost? So I gave him this spreadsheet and he looked at it and he said, okay, I can handle that. And I was floored. That was a test. That was an opportunity. That was a way for him to see, am I going to do what he asks me to do without asking? I mean, without arguing, without having to ask 20 questions? Am I going to be agreeable and submit? Am I going to be honest about, yeah, I spend that much on shoes or whatever it is, and it wasn't a bad thing, but it was just what it taught me is that in that moment, I could have taken it as he's being nosy, he's being controlling, you're not my husband, this and that. Why are you asking me all these questions? But his intent in getting me to do that exercise was to see, can he financially take on how much I'm already spending on myself? And so, ladies, I just, especially if you've got a man who's a provider, and not a provider is not everything that you want, but he's, like Lucy said, men want to take care of the women that belong to them, right? So make sure that you're coming into a relationship with your stuff already in order, so that he knows what he's getting himself into. So I just wanted to share that little bit of story time because it was a test. I passed it. Whew. But yes, what does Mrs. Groti Shetty say? With another $10. So she's going to be updated at $20. Thank you so much. So we have a question. She says, what do you ladies suggest a wife do if she has a husband who doesn't take the lead without seeming as though she is the leader, sort of leading from behind? This is a tough one. So much in our community and in our society is upside down and backwards down. And I don't blame, because just like we women have been conditioned to just be part of the workforce and kind of cut off that nurturing side of who we are, which is normal and natural, I think men have almost been beat down to the things that are just normal and natural about them. They've been shamed, for being that. So they're almost like, especially if they didn't have that type of father to raise them and they haven't seen it. Maybe they had an overbearing mother. I don't know. But I feel so bad for men, just like we women have to seek out our feminine. A lot of men, unfortunately, have to seek out their masculine. So there's a lot of work to do. I can't solve it for everybody, but if you have a man who doesn't lead without being, prompted, I would just offer this. Just like we talked about to Nakota and her daughter, if there's any conversation that you need to have with your man, you absolutely have that in private, and you show him the respect and in public, and you never emasculate him. If you all need to have a conversation, hey, we're going to, the holidays are coming up, and this is what the plan is or what we're going to do. And then when he is there, you allow him to be the man, because respect is so critical to men. And there's a reason why, and I don't know the reason why, I'm not a doctor, but there's a reason why he's kind of shut down in that area. And, privately as his wife, you know him better. Maybe if it's something that you did or something that you can help. But I have learned, y'all, as a boy mom, I can't raise a man. I can't teach a man how to be a man. Like, all I can do is love and support. And that's why at 14 and 16, the boys pretty much live with their dad and come to visit me, because men need that. Shout out to Kevin Samuels with the Wolf Pack. So I would just encourage and support, and whatever you do, do not compound the problem. I'm going to update the ticker, but what would you say, Lucy?
I would say that perhaps he was raised in a mostly matriarchal environment. And the women in that environment were the ones who took charge. And now that he's with you, he's okay with maybe you taking charge. I think that the way you can work this out would be, again, to start with baby steps. Allow him to take lead on something small and celebrate that success. Little by little, you start allowing him to start taking on more leading responsibilities. And again, um, celebrate him for it. Oh, baby, I appreciated how you did this on such and such day. I appreciated how you switched the smoke alarm without me even having to tell you. I appreciate it so much. So little by little, and then he'll start getting his confidence back, because it could be also that he may have lost his confidence because the women in the house, in the home, have already taken ownership of all that stuff. So I think that baby steps, little by little, start building up his confidence. He and hopefully he's going to have um, other male influences that will allow him to see how masculine leadership is taken on. Again, as a woman, I don't know how that happens. It's just something that they learn when they're amongst all the men. But as a wife, if I had a husband that was more a follower than a leader, I would allow him to start leading little by little until he gets to the front, and you stay either by side or behind him.
I absolutely love that. And Mrs. Crotichetti added that his mom was the leader in the home growing up. And that's why I come back to it, you all. That family of origin, and it's not our fault, but we just do what we see. And so that's why, relationships and family are so important. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for asking that. I love what Lucy said about celebrating the small wins. We women are so powerful, and what we say to the ego of a man can just be like supercharge or like kryptonite, So, ladies, especially if you got a good one and he's just struggling in a particular area, show him love and grace and help him. And I love that about encourage him to be around other masculine men. All right. I don't see any other questions. This has been really good, you all. We'll wait just a few more minutes and see if you all have any other questions. Again, you can put them in the chat. You can click the link if you want to talk to us, camera on or camera off. But in case anybody is new here, Lucy and I have created the finishing school for the modern woman. So we've got just a few updates and some save the dates so you all can know about that. I'm going to share my screen and just go over just a few things, not everything, but we want to make sure that you all have all of the information. All right, so again, we are here for you all. Thank you for asking your questions. Let me take this down so you all can see. Okay, ask us anything. All right, so we already talked about who we are. We have something coming up in November that we're very excited about. So if you are a lady, or you know a lady who wants to work on her feminine journey, we are going to be hosting the Elegance Boot Camp. This is going to be a 30-day boot camp, and I'm really, really excited. Let me come back here so you all can see. So, we are going to be teaching from the Woman of Elegance book, 30 Days Towards Your Elegance Journey. I think the timing is going to be great as the holidays come up. And the best part about it is it's going to be completely free. So, Woman of Elegance has a book you all can purchase your own copy with a 20% discount. I've already scheduled this so you all can turn on your notifications, but every day for 30 days from November 1st through November 30th, we are going to be taking one page from the book and teaching it to you all. So spread the word. And then if you want more after that, in January, we'll have another session of the finishing school. All right, we got a few more things coming in here. Let's see. Rodney says celebrating a man's masculinity is paramount to most men by their women and wives. Yes, ladies, you have no idea how impactful your words and your praise can be. Men have an ego, and it's our job to nurture that. I agree.
You think it's such a small thing to do, but it means so much. But it also takes practice. It takes practice for the woman to understand that encouragement and that encouraging the good behavior means so much.
Absolutely. Encouragement is so important. Dakota says, how do you get men around men? We're best friends by convenience, not by choice. Well, all right. So let me think about this one. Gosh, Dakota, I have to say, and I understand, but even with you asking this question, you're still leading. You're still driving, you're still fixing. And one of the things that I tell my consults as women, we need to do less and be more. So, in this example, there's nothing wrong with suggesting if you want to, but what I would probably do in your case is I would lean very heavily into my feminine qualities and I would occupy myself with the things that promote my femininity. You have a daughter, so that could be mommy and me outings or manis and petties. I don't know. I have boys, so I don't understand. But I would allow him to come to certain conclusions on his own. If he asks, hey, babe, I'm thinking about this or that, I'm making it up, not anything that's, the end of the world. I support your decision. I'm sure you'll make the right one. Practice not having the answer. Practice withholding some of that habit of just getting out in front. So even you saying, how do you get men to be around more men? And I understand it's just something that you've just done and we've just done, but it can be corrected. You won't be able to fix everything, but if you try to really rest in your femininity and do less and be more, he will see that. And I believe it will make him kind of naturally want to complement that. That's what I would say. Lucy, what do you say?
I think also with what you said, Maggie, maybe does he get a haircut? Does he go to a barber shop? Does he work out? Does he go to the gym? So those are things that on his own he's going to start seeing, maybe building friendships on his own, but that is a decision that he's going to have to make. You, Nakota, are going to be working with your girl. You're going to go to tea time, do girly things, and believe me, he's not going to want part of it. He's either going to go into his own little man cave or he's going to go outside to look for things that are more of his liking. So I think that that's a hard one. You just, for me, is you just have to allow him to find his world, but uh, not be the one that pushes him into it. Just sit back, just stay silent, work with your girl, with your new baby that's coming up, and he will find his way.
Yes, and I see another question. I just want to make sure I give you all some tangible things. And Dakota, I so appreciate your transparency, but I want to make sure you're clear. The reason why, two reasons why you don't want to start anything that you can't continue and you don't want to continue. So every time you want to jump out front and solve a problem, think about if I have to do this for the next 5, 10, or 20 years, every time he has an issue, do I want him to lean on me? That's where the resentment builds in. So now, especially while the kids are young, you've got your hands full. Throw yourself into being mom. I want to also comment on what you said as far as we are best friends by convenience. I'm in a relationship with my best friend. There's nothing wrong with that. But at this point where you have been the leader and he's looking for work, that is a very sensitive time for a man. And I'm not a man, but being able to provide and take care, he's got a young family and he's out of work. I cannot imagine how hard that is for him. So your job, to be, like I said, really lean into your femininity. And like what Lucy said, any small wins, you compliment him. If he gets an interview, oh, wow, babe, you look great in that suit. I know you're going to knock him dead. However you talk to each other, help him, support in a supportive way. I went ahead and put a couple extra resumes in your portfolio, whatever you can do. But there's nothing wrong with being friends, but a man has to get himself squarely together. Then, of course, you guys are going to do things, that friends do, but you need your girl time and he needs his man time. I love what Rodney said. So I just wanted to explain why you don't want him to lean on you and you don't want him to resent you. Because if you put him around other men and you're like, yeah, yeah, you should hang out with that guy, and it doesn't organically develop, then who's to blame? You are. And you don't want that. We've got a question from Next Level. Says, do either of you have a considerable age gap in your relationship? Uh, no, for me, we're about the same age. And I will say this, it only works now, later in life. I have shared that, I'm in a relationship with someone I knew from childhood, and what Kevin used to say about, men needing that time, separated, and, life brought us back together. And it's a very, very different relationship once a man is sure of himself. But in my marriage, my ex-husband was 7 years older than me. And I thought, but I met him when I was 18, he was 25. And that was a huge gap back then. I think 7 years is definitely doable now. What would you say, Lucy?
I think it has to do with the maturity level. My first husband was 9 years older than me. My current husband is 9 years older than me. So, and for me, I've always been a much more mature in my age. I've been pretty, as an introvert, I like, I'm quiet. I'm a homebody. And it has to do with the maturity level. I don't know if anything above, I want to say 12 years. I don't know, that gets a little strange because you're in different decades now. You've been there, done that. If you have a relationship with somebody that's in her early 20s and you are what would be 35, almost 40, that's a big gap. But again, it all depends on the maturity level on each one of you.
Yes, and we have a new stream sponsor coming through with the $25. Thank you so much, Kenneth Williams. We appreciate you so, so much. So we have updated the ticker. He says, hey, ladies, thank you for this stream. We appreciate that you all appreciate it. Lucy and I are committed to being an example, committed to the older women teaching the young, and providing an option for ladies of any age who feel like the current image does not reflect you. We are here, but we never force it on anyone, but we always want to give back. So thank you. That's very generous. What does Rodney say? It's emotionally traumatizing to a man's ego when he doesn't have a job and needs to provide for his young family. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. That's very, very difficult. So I'm not seeing anything else. I'll go back over to the slides for just a little bit to let you all type. And again, if you have any other questions, you can either click the link or you can put them in the chat, and we'll start wrapping it up very soon.
On the jobs
Yes.
thing, I would say for Nakota to tell him it's you and me against the world, babe. I know you can do it. You're there because it could be also that he's afraid that somehow because he doesn't find the job, he's going to lose you. You have to make sure that he knows that you're going to be here for the good, the bad, the ugly forever because that gives him more motivation for him to continue looking for that job and he's gonna find it. You just have to be there. Just you got to be his cheerleader. You know you're gonna find it. It's gonna come at the right time, and it's gonna happen. But you have to tell him that you're together in this world against anything else.
That is such a good point, Lucy, and it takes me back to the question about the state-sponsored marriage. I mean, that is a huge fear for men that they're going to lose everything. So yes, being his number one fan, I absolutely love that. And any small wins, celebrate that. Doesn't matter if you think it's insignificant or you said it before or he already knows that. Tell him. They need to hear it. Oh, they need to hear it for a couple reasons. You want to be the one to tell them, and two, you just don't want to send them out into the world. I feel very strongly about that. Men work so hard and they sacrifice so much, and it's really important. So, what does Rodney say? The words of a wife is a husband's rock of Gibraltar. Yeah, you are his confidant. You are the closest one to him. You all are best friends. So, love him up for sure. All right, so we talked about the Elegance Boot Camp. If you all have any other questions, you can put them in the chat. If not, we will be winding down soon. Let's see here. All right, so in case you all don't know, let me just take this down a little bit. So Vivian is the founder of Woman of Elegance. We are very excited to be sharing her content. You all can check out her website. She has over 400,000 between YouTube and Instagram. And she is also passionate about women being the best version of themselves. So her book is this one, 30-Day Guide to Elegance. And we're very excited that our students are going to get a free copy of the book. It's actually in your dashboard if you're a current student. If you choose to enroll with us in our January intake, you will also get a free copy. For everyone else, you can get the book at 20% off. So we'll be having some fun during the November timeframe every day. I believe we said 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. We will be taking one of those days and breaking them down to give the community a little insight into being the best version of yourself. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? We have Drew Beats. Hello. He says, what's a good wage to start a family with no kids? Wow, that's a good one. So I'm assuming here you're asking what salary a man should have before taking on a wife. And this is, I know everybody hates the answer, it depends, but there's no hard and fast number. I would say this is what you should consider. Number one, as a man, you need to be able to 100% take care of yourself. You need to be living alone. You need to have your own transportation, your own income, your own benefits. You need to be fully independent before you should even think about taking on a wife, even if you're not going to have a family. And part of the reason why, and again, we speak from a traditional perspective here, it's really important that a woman respect her man. And if she can, I don't know, if she feels competitive in that way. Part of it, that's her spirit. There are some women that out earn their husbands, but they don't use that to, to hold it against him. They work well together. The other thing that matters is where you live and what kind of life you want to have. Meaning, let me take Lucy's getting her camera together. So, you all remember when Kevin used to talk to women, he would ask them, where, like, what city or what state do you live in? Y'all know I'm in the Atlanta area. Lucy's out in California. It's very different in the South compared to the West Coast. So being able to take care of yourself in New York or California is going to be very different from being like here in, in the South. And then lastly, the type of life that you want to live. And yes, you have a conversation with your bride to be, but she has to be able to get on your program, whatever that is, right? There could be, military wives that they live on, very, basic housing and, whatever, I don't know, but the stipend or however it works. Or you could be, like a graduate student or in medical school, but you want to get married. Like, whatever life looks like for you, she has to be okay with getting on that program. If she wants an extravagant lifestyle and that's not where you are, you have to let her go find that. Maybe she will, maybe she won't, but you don't want to risk the hassle and the stress that an unhappy woman will bring into your home. Circling back to what Lucy said about, does she know how to work with leftovers? Can she clip coupons? Can she wear Old Navy? Can she shop on sale? Like, you have to know what life looks like for you, and then you find the woman that complements that lifestyle. So hopefully that helps, Drew Beats, but it's not a number. But there's a misconception that like stay-at-home wives or moms, only are to rich men. There are several families that make it work on, 40, 50, 60,000. So don't put pressure on yourself. You don't have to be a one percenter. Long-winded answer, and I know someone said don't apologize, but Lucy, how would you answer that?
I agree. It all depends what it is that you want. I know that with my family, my dad was the only one working. My mom was the uh, what is it, the woman of the house with 5 kids. So you can imagine how frugal she had to be with a one salary home. And we've we've moved from, one country to another country to the United States, back to a country. So you have to end up with a woman that is considerate and understands the struggles that you're probably going to be going if you're a young family, if you're a young marriage. So again, that has to do with the character of the woman. Hard to say how much to have. I know that my parents never thought about how much they needed to live with a family of 5 children, and they made it. They've been married for what? Now it's 59 years together, and they've gone through all the ups and downs. My dad, when we moved to the United States, he's a civil engineer, but his license and all that stuff, it wasn't approved. So he had to work at 7-Eleven, Burger King, all of these things to make do, because my mother didn't speak the language, but she stayed with us at home. So she had, I mean, my parents have gone through some stuff. He's always been the worker of the house, and now they're living, they're traveling and doing all of these things. But, as a young family, they struggled, but they made it together. So, and that's because he himself got himself a good woman, a woman of character that understood what it was to be a young family. And she committed to the family, and she believed in till death do us part, richer for poor, and health and in sickness and all that stuff. Again, it has to do with the character of the woman that you end up with, and communication, talking about what your goals are.
I absolutely love that. So thank you, Lucy. And Lucy and I have that in common. We both come from immigrant families. I mean, my parents came here. My dad was on a student visa, and it's me, mom, dad, and my brother. And same thing, my dad worked at the Piggly Wiggly, and my mom worked at Ryan's Steakhouse cutting up vegetables. And now they live in a country club, and dad drives a Mercedes. But there's just, when you find a good woman who will, what did Kevin used to say? The IKEA marriage, who will build, with you, or whatever it is. Just look for those qualities. Thank you for the question, Drew Beats. All right, everyone. I think we are going to wrap it up. Let me just see here for the finishing school. Like I shared with you all, the free content is going to be in November, November 1st through November 30th. So please share the word. If you know any woman, this is Vivian's book, The Ultimate Elegance Guide. We're going to break it down in a way that hopefully makes it very easy to understand. These will be 30 days of 30 minutes of teaching. It's going to be taught by Lucy and myself, and we're very excited that Vivian is going to make an appearance some of those, or one of those 30 days. And again, this will be a free live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, just like we're doing now. So for everyone. So if you want to become elegant or work on your elegance before the holidays, please join us. Turn on your notifications. If you're interested in if you or someone you know is interested in continuing to refine after the holidays, we will have the next class of the finishing school. The dates will be January 9th through February 24th. So it is an 8-week finishing school that we have. We are currently in our first intake, and our next one will be in January. Our students are doing great. They have access to us, our teaching, lifetime access to the materials, and I think it's going very well. So I don't see anything else. Lucy, did you want to say anything to close us out?
Thank you all for joining us in this Q&A. Excellent questions. It makes us think about what is going on, and it makes you understand where you're coming from. Those questions are just so enlightening, and again, it makes us appreciate where we all come from.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, Lucy and I will do these Q&As for you on Wednesdays weekly, so you all can come. We definitely want to add value. You can ask us anything. We will do our best to answer from our life experience. If you're interested, or you know someone who's interested in the finishing school, the link is in the description. You can put your name on the wait list. So as soon as we have news when enrollment opens again, you will be the first to know. So other than that, you can catch me on Maggie the Substitute Teacher. You can catch Lucy on her channel, Luke Casely. Oh, thank you for the applause, Big Ben. We are so glad that you all find these valuable. So thank you to our sponsors today. We started with Nakota. Thank you for the $2, and Miss Croti Shetty, $10, and then $10 again. And then to close us out with the $25, Mr. Kenneth Williams. So all right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and dismiss, and we will see you next week on the next Q&A. All right, class is dismissed.